Welcome to the deep dive. So every year, the holidays roll around and we get locked into that same rotation of music.
Hmm.
And those songs, they carry so much cultural weight. They're basically the soundtrack to our memories.
Absolutely. Personal and collective ones?
But what happens when an artist takes one of the most iconic holiday protest anthems ever? I mean, John Lennon's 1971 Happy Xmas, War is Over, and just completely reworks it for 2025.
And not just with new lyrics.
No, as this massive 36-track collaboration. And here's the kicker. It's driven by sophisticated generative AI.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today.
Ugh.
We're looking at the analysis of this album. It's called Happy Xmas, Love is Stronger.
Right.
And our mission really is to unpack how this group of artists and producers used AI not just as a tool for making music, but as a mechanism for what they actually call civic repair.
Civic repair, that's a heavy term.
It is. This whole thing is just a fascinating case study. You're looking at musical activism, derivative works, and all the ethics of AI rolled into one.
Okay, so let's get into the ambition here, because it is incredibly ambitious. This is not just a cover song.
No, not at all.
The source material we're looking at argues that this is a contemporary sonic manifesto, a statement on justice and solidarity for right now.
And it's grounded in these very specific sounds Americana, roots music, some experimental stuff. It puts itself right in the middle of the modern political conversation.
Yeah, and that's a key shift from the original, isn't it? Lennon's song was this powerful reflection on the Vietnam War era.
It was a call for personal responsibility. This 2025 version, it takes that reflective idea and just turns it outward. It's explicitly calling out policy-driven forces that are harming marginalized communities today.
And they name them.
They do. The analysis specifically mentions queer, migrant, and indigenous communities as being central to the album's message.
Which all hinges on that new refrain, love is stronger. That phrase is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
A tremendous amount. It's not just a catchy hook. The analysis describes it as an operative ethic for cultural repair.
Operative. So what does that mean exactly? That it's meant to be applied?
It's meant to be applied, yes.
Yeah.
It's a principle for action. In this polarized climate we're in, love is stronger becomes this frame for compassion as a practical, almost political force.
A force that can actually drive change.
Right, and by putting that ethic inside the familiar ritual of a Christmas song, they're trying to make that moral value really immediate, actionable for anyone listening.
Okay, so let's talk more about that artistic shift from the reflective war is over to this much more active love is stronger. They're not just copying the melody, they're, transposing the spirit of the protest?
That's a great way to put it. They're shifting the Christmas prayer away from pure nostalgia and giving it this renewed civic charge.
It's a really smart tactical move, anchoring it in that familiar seasonal song structure.
It's brilliant. You get all the emotional scaffolding of the original, but the focus is completely redefined. And the most powerful choice they make is explicitly centering communities that are often overlooked.
Especially in holiday music, which tends to be so universal and kind of abstract.
Exactly. This album makes it incredibly specific. It grounds the protest in reality.
And when you look at the lyrics from the analysis, you see just how specific they got. It's not just vague well-wishing anymore.
Not at all. It's a dedication. There's a line in the second verse that goes, "So here comes Christmas for the banned and the blamed, for the queer and the migrant, for the folks they've shamed." By listing them like that, you're making an undeniable political point. You're forcing the listener to think about who's being left out of that promise of peace and goodwill.
But I guess the question is, does that feel cynical to some people? Taking this beloved copyrighted song and, kind of weaponizing it for a very specific political message.
And that's the tension in all protest art.
Yeah.
Right. Especially with derivative works.
Sure.
The source material tackles this directly. It argues that because the album dropped in such a polarized climate, the urgency of the message kind of overrides any concerns about commercialism.
So the ends justify the means, in a way.
In a way. The argument is that these holiday songs have this ritual weight. They come back every single year. They're tied to our memories. That makes them the most potent vehicle possible for a message like this.
So you use the biggest megaphone you can find.
Exactly. You leverage that tradition to fight complacency. It's a strategic choice. If you want a message of solidarity to stick around for years, you bake it into an annual ritual people actually want to revisit.
Let's pivot a bit to the sheer scale of this thing, because that's where the AI really comes in. 36 tracks. I mean, how do you even begin to do that?
You can't, not without advanced computational help.
And this incredible variety of American music styles, what's the goal with that plurality?
The 36 tracks are themselves the argument.
Yeah.
The range is the point.
Yeah.
You've got Tejano next to Appalachian folk, gospel next to, what was it, roots electronica?
Yeah. It's modeling the very thing it's calling for, right? All these disparate communities coming together.
Precisely. It's saying all these different traditions can contribute to a single, coherent song of belonging.
But creating 36 unique, good, genre-specific arrangements, that's a huge technical lift. Which genres from the list really stood out to you?
Well, the analysis points out some amazing examples of the depth here. It's not just rock and folk. You see Tejano and Norteño, which speaks directly to border communities.
Right.
There's Native American traditional fusion, which immediately centers an indigenous voice. And then you get into Southern Gothic folk, Appalachian folk, these really specific regional sounds.
So how did the AI actually do that, this rapid genre hopping?
Yeah.
Because the AI isn't replacing the human musicians here.
No, absolutely not. The AI wasn't the composer. Think of it as a hyper-efficient arranger, a sketch pad.
Okay.
So instead of a human producer spending weeks trying to program a convincing Zydeco rhythm or score a symphonic part.
The AI can just generate dozens of options in seconds.
Exactly. Dozens of viable, genre-appropriate variants, maybe 50 different string arrangements or 100 drum loops for the human producers to sift through and choose from.
So the humans keep the artistic control, but the AI just collapses the time it takes to experiment.
It compresses time, and it expands the expressive range. That's the word they use. Amplification. They could test 36 different sonic aesthetics in the time it would normally take to maybe get 3 done.
But they were also careful about it sounding too robotic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was crucial. To keep that sincerity, the production deliberately favors organic textures. You hear live-sounding drums, a lot of analog warmth, real choirs.
Resisting that synthetic sheen so it feels rooted in human tradition?
It had to. The sound had to reinforce the message. And that's why that little touch on the final track is so powerful.
The note from the editor.
Yeah, the note from the human editor, and then you hear the editor and their 12-year-old son on backup vocals and jingle bells. It's this tiny detail that signals an undeniable human intergenerational stake in this work.
Which brings us right to the legal and ethical side of things. This is a derivative work of a Lennon classic, and the world of 2025 is very different when it comes to AI.
Very different. And the source material really emphasizes how crucial transparency and compliance were.
It's the foundation of their whole ethical claim.
It is. By 2025, the legal landscape around AI and copyright had matured really quickly. Companies and regulators were finally creating these clear commercial pathways to use AI tools while still protecting the original creators.
So for this album, what did that mean practically? What hurdles did they have to clear to use Lennon's song?
It means they needed absolutely watertight licensing agreements, both for the composition rights, the melody, the structure, and for the mechanical rights, which cover the actual recording and distribution.
And the source notes this isn't just a formality.
No, it's an act of respect. If your whole message is about justice and repair, you can't be seen to be exploiting the original work. The legal compliance had to be perfect.
So beyond the legal stuff, the licenses, what other ethical guardrails did they put in place to build trust?
First and foremost, clear labeling. Anything that AI had a hand in generating, even just arrangement ideas, had to be transparently credited.
Right.
And they had to audit their training data to make sure it was ethically sourced. No unauthorized scraping of other artists' work. And importantly, no deceptive sound-alike mimicry.
So no fake Lennon vocals generated by the AI?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
The AI was there to facilitate arrangement, not to mimic a person. For a project built on moral integrity, the ethics of the process have to match the message.
Right. You can't fight for justice using unjust methods.
You can't.
Yeah.
The integrity of the whole record depends on how everyone was credited, how they were paid, and whether the cultural perspectives in genres like Tejano or indigenous fusion were truly respected, not just mined for data.
And that ethical clarity carries all the way through to the distribution, which, for this album, is an act of activism in itself. So how do you distribute an album like this differently from a typical commercial release that's just trying to get streams?
You have to prioritize impact over metrics. The analysis talks about a big shift toward community-forward distribution.
Not just putting it up on Spotify.
No, we're talking about organizing local listing sessions, partnering with mutual aid groups for performances, getting local choirs involved. It transforms the album from just a piece of media into a real community resource.
And the revenue model is key to that. The source mentions these revenue-sharing models for the communities that are impacted. How does that work?
It means when you buy or stream the album, your money is directly tied to the cause. A percentage goes straight to organizations that serve the queer, migrant, or indigenous communities they name in the song.
So the listener isn't just a consumer anymore.
Exactly. You're participating in the civic repair the music is about. It makes the act of consumption an actual ethical choice.
That's a powerful idea. So looking at the long game, what does the analysis say will ultimately define this album's legacy? Is it just a one-off?
Its staying power depends entirely on whether his methods become a blueprint for other artists.
A repeatable model.
A repeatable, ethical model. The meticulous crediting, the licensing, the community engagement, the revenue sharing. If they've created a reliable, ethical path for AI-assisted protest music, then they haven't just made an album, they've kicked off a new genre.
So the real measure of success isn't its chart position. It's whether the project's lived integrity. That alignment of message and method inspires others to do the same.
That's the test. It's this amazing creative experiment, right? Marrying musical tradition with these brand new tools to make an urgent plea. It's an invitation to choose love over fear.
A pretty extraordinary act of hope, given the complexities of the moment.
I think so.
It's a remarkable synthesis, really. An artistic project, a technical achievement, and a statement on what ethical cultural work looks like in the age of AI.
Absolutely. And with that, let's leave you with this final thought from the source material. It's a quote attributed to Sitting Bull. Let us put our minds together and see what life we can make for our children. So if the future of art requires AI to help create these vital messages of solidarity, what new civic responsibilities do you as a listener have to make sure that the human intention and the ethical process behind that art remain strong?